What will we cover in this tutorial? It will be divided into two videos. In the first part that you are watching, we will perform procedural modeling. Using non-destructive modeling to create our sci-fi corridor. We're gonna create the basic shapes and show the necessary modifiers to make that task. And finally we'll use of external assets to complete the elements of our sci-fi corridor. Then we will use a procedural texture to detail the corridor, and finally we will use an HDRI, and we will play with some lights to make the scene more interesting. In the second video we're gonna add a smoke simulation and use the compositing environment to obtain the scene that we saw in the demo intro. The video will be soon, I am working on it, subscribe to be aware of the second part of this tutorial. To create the first module, we will use the image on the screen as a reference. We will only use a plane to create the basic shape, follow the quick guide in the video. With the basic form we will apply the following modifiers on screen. Do it in the same order and quantity. We're gonna create some detailed marks in our module to make a sci-fi look. With the knife tool create the marks like I'm doing in the video. If you prefer more marks it's up to you. Don't forget apply a mark seam in your cuts. To see the marks in the module, go to the edge split modifier and change the angle value to 0. After that play with the first solidify modifier to fit the module. To create the basic shape of the columns use the default cube, scale it on the Z-axis, then in the edit mode, create two loop cuts. With the subdivisions of the loop cuts, extrude them frontally. In the extrusion, apply a bevel to make the shape more rounded as seen in the video. Create more marks and detail as to your liking, just keep the pillar shape so non-destructive generation doesn't ruin the model. Follow the steps in the video. When you are satisfied with the shape of the column, apply the following modifiers that you see on the screen. In the smooth modifier, use all axis, then use a 6 value in the factor with only one repeat. Use the collapse option in the decimate modifier, put the factor value in 1. In the second decimate modifier use the planar option and change the angle value to 0 degrees. In the triangulate modifier is not necessary change the parameters. In the edge split modifier use a 0 degrees value. In the bevel modifier, use an amount of 0.03 and just one segment. In the solidify modifier, play with the values like do you prefer. Use the cast modifier to increase the size of the columns, enabling the 3-axis, but this modifier is optional. Don't be afraid to experiment with modifiers, you are free to get the setting you want. Remember, if you want to use more modifiers, your PC will work harder processing. To add more interesting elements to our scene, I will use Andrew Rakowski's library of structural assets. All links will be in the description. Once the assets have been imported, I will use this structural element, place that object in the position that you want. In my case, I will use an array modifier to include the element several times in an orderly way as seen in the video. For the roof, choose the element of the assets that you consider best. I will use this one, position it making it seem that the structures support it. In edit mode, remove half of the mesh from this element to use a mirror modifier in the future to accommodate our scene. For the material created, I will leave in the description a link. That will have a complete image of all nodes used for the material of the module and columns. Please follow the quick video guide if you want to follow the tutorial step by step. If you want a blend file with the materials of the created elements, let me know. For the material displacement, I will use a texture generated by the displacement application. The link to obtain this app will be in the description. The configuration of the nodes and other details of the displacement texture will be in another image in the description. To make a suitable texturing, just do a smart UV unwrap on our module in the edit mode as shown in the video. To create a completely enclosed hallway, I will use the mirror modifier on each object in our scene as seen in the video. To get more control of the distance of the objects, I will use an empty that will serve as a reference to apply the mirror modifier. Follow the steps in the quick video. For HDRI, I especially recommend you go to the Pixel Asteroid channel and check the HDRIs that it offers for free. The link of the HDRI video is in the description. The nodes used to configure the HDRI, I will leave them in an image in the description. In general, the configuration is simple. I will simply use a few nodes to play with the saturation and brightness of the HDRI. For the lighting of the corridor, I will use two area lights as shown in the video, and in the world nodes, I will use a volume scatter to make the light in the corridor more intense. You can check the picture that I will leave in the description.